right, so for lesson 4.1, we're going to talk about some properties of quadratic functions before we get into graphing. So a lot of this stuff will feel repeated, but it's going to be with quadratic functions. So remember, if a is positive, then our graph is going to open up. But if a is negative, then our graph is going to open down. So we know that's a reflection. So that should be a review. Same with vertex. Remember how we come up with our vertex where we start our graph? We do the opposite of the h. So I'm just going to put h, but remember that it's opposite thinking here. And then we bring our k down and we have our starting point. So the axis of symmetry, that may be a little bit new. But remember, if it is going to be an axis of symmetry, it's going to be dividing it symmetrically. So what that would be is a vertical line, so x equals, and whatever x equals, well, we'll just put h for now. But whatever x actually equals is your axis of symmetry. Okay? Let's take a look at some examples together. So for the first one, what is our vertex? Well, again, vertex is our starting point, and we want to do the opposite of the inside, so 4, and we want to bring our outside number, so -6. So our axis of symmetry is x equals, and what does x equal? 4. And does this open up or down? That's when we look in front, and that opens up since it's positive. So let's take a look at another one together. Let's take a look at let's do number 4 together. So for our vertex, nothing is on the inside with our x, so 0, and then the number behind 5, and our axis would be x equals, and that is x equals 0. So it's x equals 0 here. So opens, and we look in the front, negative, so that means it's going to open down. All right, so go ahead and try 2 and 3 on your own and check when you're ready. All right, so we should have -3, 4, x equals -3 opening down. For number 3, 1, 0, axis of symmetry, x equals 0, and it opening down. All right, let's take a look. What do we do if it's not in our vertex form, what we're used to seeing? What if it's in standard form where we've got what we've been used to seeing for factoring, but what if it's in that type of form? How do we get it into vertex form? How do we find that important information that we just found up above when it's not looking normal, as we like to call it? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to identify A, B, and C. So the x squared is, the coefficient is A, the coefficient of our x is B, and then our single number here with no variable is our C. So what I want you to do is remember this formula. -b over 2a. Say it to yourself. -b over 2a. -b over 2a. And if you say that to yourself a couple of times, it will get into your brain, and that is basically the formula and the only formula that you're going to need for this. Once you do -b over 2a to find your x value, then you're going to plug it back in for x to find your y value. And then you've got your vertex. Once you have your vertex, well, you've got everything you pretty much need. You have your x value for your line axis of symmetry. You can already see if it opens up or down based on whatever your a is. And then our y-intercept, we can look up above and see what c is, and that is your y-intercept, whatever your c value is. So that one, no formula for that either. And then we can write it in vertex form once we have our vertex, which we found up above by using -b over 2a and plugging it back in. So, for example, this one down here, if we wanted to plug, we knew our h and our k from getting our vertex, we would take our a, which is up here, remember, a is the coefficient of x squared, that is going to go in the front. And then we want to write x minus, so opposite of our h. So, and if this is 1, then we want to have a minus 1 when we put it back in. And then squared, and then our k, negative 50. So it's pretty easy to get it back into vertex form if you remember your starting point, your formula, negative b over 2a. So let's go ahead and try a couple of examples together, because I think that will be the ticket for you. And we're going to do 2 together, and I'm going to have you try one on your own. So for this first one, let's label A, B, and C first. So A is 2, B is negative 8, and C is 16. And what is our formula? Negative b over 2a. You're right. Opposite of b over 2a. So when it's already a negative, then we're going to be making it a positive, because when we say negative b, it's really we're making it the opposite sign of whatever it is. So we want to have a plus 8 on the top over 2 times a. So 2 times 2. So again, that's negative b over 2a. If you want to write that formula out first and then plug your stuff in, that might help. So 8 over 4 reduces to 2. And what is this value again? Oh yeah, that's my x. So my x is 2. Now with that, I'm going to plug it back in. So again, our starting point is going to be negative b over 2a, and then plug it back in. Now when we say plug it back in, we're plugging it back in to the function up here for x. So we should have 2, and then we're going to replace the x. So I'm just going to kind of write out my whole function there, and I'm going to replace all my x's with a 2. So I like to kind of keep them with parentheses there. So now we want to take 2 squared. Make sure that you're squaring first. Remember, order of operations, exponents first. So 2 times 2, or 2 squared, is 4. Then we'll go ahead and do our multiplication from that point. So here's 8, negative 16, positive 16. Go from left to right adding. So 8 minus 16 is negative 8. Plus 16 is 8. So this is my y value. So now that I have my x and my y, I have an ordered pair. I have my vertex. So 2, 8 is my vertex. So axis of symmetry is x equals, and what does x equal? Oh yeah, we just found it. It's 2. Does this open up or down? So we want to look at our a value. Yes, positive, so that should be opening up. When it comes to opening up, it's going to look like a U. So that means that we have a minimum. Kind of down there we have a hole dug, and we have a minimum value when it's opening up. So I want you to circle or box in minimum. And then our y value goes here, and our x value goes here, which we've already got. So a minimum of 8, that's how far down we are, at x equals 2. The y-intercept, remember, that's just your c. And what is our c up above? 16. So our y-intercept should be 16. So let's go ahead and write this in vertex form. Remember, we want to have our a and our h and our k. So our a is 2. Then we want a set of parentheses, and we want to have an x, and then the opposite of our h value. So not a plus 2, but a minus 2. We're just plugging our vertex back in for vertex form. And then our k is going to be our second value, our y value, which is a plus 8. Now what are we forgetting? The squared, because these are quadratics. We want to make sure that we have it squared behind that set of parentheses. All right, let's try another one together. Number 2. First step. Yep, sing your little song. Negative b over 2a. Not really a song, because, yeah. Could probably make a cool song. If you make a cool song, please share. So this is a, this is b, this is c. Let's plug it in. Opposite of b, so negative 12 over 2 times a. And simplify. So that's negative 12 over 6, which is negative 2. Love it when it's pretty. And this is my x value. So we're going to plug it back in. Negative b over 2a, plug it back in. So we have a 3 times negative 2 squared plus 12 times negative 2 minus 8. So remember, we got to be very, very careful to do our exponents first, then multiply, then work our way from left to right, order of operations. So this is 3 times 4 plus 12 times negative 2 minus 8. So it's 12 minus 24 minus 8. Negative 12 minus 8, negative 20. Take it one step at a time. And this is my y. So now that I have x and y, let's fill that in. X is negative 2, y negative 20. And we have our axis of symmetry as x equals negative 2. Because remember, this is a vertical line going through the x-axis, and it goes through right at negative 2. Splits it down the middle. This is opening, yep, look at the beginning, up, because we're positive. Since it's opening up, again, we're going to have a hole, and that means we should have a minimum. Whenever it's negative, that's when it would be upside down. It would be like a mountain, and we would have a maximum. And you can look back at your previous page with that chart, and you'll see the difference between that minimum and maximum. We want to put our y value here and our x value here. It's easy to remember because this says x equals, doesn't it? And we know x equals negative 2, so our y value, negative 20, should go here. The y-intercept is our c, so where is it going to touch that y-axis at? Oh, negative 8. And we have a vertex now form, so if we have the vertex, we can stick it in vertex form. Very easy, we just need an a, and then our vertex, h and k. So what is our a value? Up here it is 3. So we should have x minus, now we're going to plug in our h and our k. Opposite, so it should be a plus 2 instead of a minus 2. Because it's minus 2 up here, and we do opposite when we put it back in, or opposite thinking when we pull it out. And we want it squared, and then the minus 20 behind it. All right, you're going to try this last one on your own. Flip back over to the previous page if you need to, or look at the examples from up above to help you. Check when you're ready. All right, remember starting point negative b over 2a, plug it back in. Be very, very, very careful. Make sure when you're plugging in that negative 8, you're squaring, then you're multiplying, and then you're doing left to right addition and subtraction there. So we've got our x, we've got our y, that means we have our vertex. So x equals negative 8 for the axis of symmetry. It opens up because it's a positive 1 for a. And then we have a minimum at of negative 61 at x equals negative 8. Just plugging in our x and our y. Y-intercept is your c value, so 3. And then we plug in our h, our k, and a. Where's a? Oh, well, it's 1. So we don't need to put that 1 there. Just our h and our k will be visible. Make sure to put any questions that you have at the bottom, and I'll see you later.